Okay, so welcome everybody. It's Wednesday, May 15th, and I love the name of this class. I have to give credit to Emily for coming up with this awesome name. Today we're going to be exploring possibilities with bodies, sex, and receiving. So I wonder what this will bring. I'm excited.
Me too. And I wonder for how many people that brings up a blank, because today I've been like, before we got on the call, I was like, wow, my head is totally blank. Interesting.
Yep. It's kind of one of those spaces where not too many, like, it's not really something that's done incredibly well in this reality for the most part, from what I've seen. And like it for many of you, it might just be an exploration of like, I have no idea what this is, what's possible now that I've never even thought of or considered.
And one of the things I bet you got a lot of you guys on here, since you heard about it through us, are familiar with the Access Consciousness tools. But one of the things that's so different with Access is like the inclusion of the body and really honoring it in a different way and bringing it along for the journey of change for consciousness. Like it's not seen as something that hinders you, but actually a gift to everything.
Around, I know Don will go down and help him.
We're going to mute you guys if you have background noise. Thank you. But that's one of the things I've been so grateful for, because I think before, I used to teach yoga and I used to meditate a lot, and which I still do yoga a little bit, but I stopped meditating when I got my bars run all the time because it created the same space. But even though I was doing yoga and really working with my body, I kind of viewed it as more of a problem, and I didn't connect with it in the same way or think to ask it questions or think to ask what it wanted, especially when it came to sex or anything that really had to do with my body. And so I've been so grateful for the tools with Access of like bringing it along for the journey and actually seeing the contribution it can be. Julia, you're muted.
I'm saying my head is so much space. I'm like, what she, but yeah, I mean, for me, I having a body just wasn't something that I even thought about. And sex and receiving are really, really weird areas in this reality. And it's like they almost, because there's so much judgment in those areas, like when I Emily and I have done these sex classes. We've done a few intros, and then we just did the one sex class in Budapest, and it was really amazing to see what came up and what has actually changed in this reality. Like when we did that class, and I was so amazed with how much is actually possible and available in this area now that wasn't even a year ago or 2 years ago. It's like people are starting to look at this and starting to look at the different possibilities that are available, and stuff is opening up. So everything that doesn't allow you guys to receive the spaces of possibilities that are available to you in this area, that only you are capable of in these areas, that are unique to your being, that you can actually bring forward and create for you and pave the path for others in the future, will you destroy and create everything that doesn't allow that times a godzillion?
Right. Bad, popcorn, all night, boys and beyonds.
Yeah. Because it's actually been a very daunting area and a very kind of almost like painful, demonic. I mean, when people think about sex, almost like they think more about sexual abuse than like sexual joy or the joy of the body. And I actually think that's kind of changing, which is really cool, which is a really cool time for us to be having these conversations. And there's different spaces opening up. So it's kind of neat.
And when you say that, and you guys can ask a question whenever in the chat.
Yeah, please do.
Please, because I would love to know what your questions are. Because one of the things you said too, Julia, is whatever it is for you, like one of the things is you are not wrong. Like whatever you when it comes to sex, your body receiving, like, everyone is so different, and it's not wrong. Like, some people love to move their body a lot. Some people don't. Some people love to have sex every day. Some people are fine without it for a year or 6 months. Like, none of it's wrong. So part of it is actually getting really clear on what's true for you. Because we are fed so much in this reality about what we should be, what your body should look like, what sex should be, and it's so filled with judgment. So one of my favorite, like, questions or clearings to run with, like, let's do sex, for example, is, what does sex mean to you? And everything that brings up times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it.
Yes.
Right, wrong, good, bad, pock, pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. What do you mean to sex? And everything that brings up times a godzillion, would you destroy and uncreate it?
Yes.
Right.
Bad, all nine POC, shorts, boys, and beyonds.
Because really, like, in this reality, we talk about like thoughts, feelings, emotions, sex and no sex being kind of the lower harmonics of this reality. And being, knowing, perceiving, and receiving is how we actually function as infinite beings. And for me, I see, like, the thing with sex and bodies is so rooted in this reality, and it's so, for a lot of people, a difficult area to actually get clear on what's true for you, what would be fun for you. And like you said, the joy and play of your body, like eating a wonderful meal, like swimming, I love to go swimming, or being in the sunshine, whatever that is. But so many of us have, we get cut off or make boxes of what's supposed to be sexy or good, or all of that stuff. So everything that is, everywhere you bought this reality's version of sex in your body, would you destroy and uncreate it?
Yes.
Times a godzillion.
Yes.
Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, pot, online, shorts, boys and beyonds.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, when you were saying that, like, how we all do have a different reality, because, like, there'll even be certain conversations that will have an access, and people will sort of all take that point of view as though that's the right conscious point of view. And one of the things that I really realized, how Gary says, or I don't know, I made a video about this recently because I thought it was a really cool tool. And he said, if you like to have sleepovers a lot, and you like to sleep over at other people's houses, or have people sleep over at your house, that means you might want to have a relationship. And if you hate sleepovers and you don't want anybody near you or in your space, you probably don't want to have a relationship. And I thought that was really cute. And then one of the other things I remember him saying is, if you are having sex with somebody, or you're starting a relationship with them, and you walk into their space, their home or apartment, and your body goes, that means that might be somebody that you could have a happy future with. And if you walk into their space and your whole world contracts and goes, then that might be an indication that might not be fun in the future. And I had known these tools for a long time. And one of the things that, like, a lot of humanoids really, really like is their alone time. And so I had thought that, okay, so maybe I don't want to have a relationship because, like, I do maybe like my alone time, but I'm like, do I really? And now it's like I have stepkids now, and they're, like, piled all on top of me all the time. And I actually realized, like, part of my reality is, and, like, even not my sort of your sexual reality, it is your sexual reality, is, like, being touched and caressed and, like, having that sensualness. And that's something that was really true for me that I didn't realize was true for me, or I had never thought of. But I kept asking the question for a really long time, like, what is my sexual reality? What is my relationship reality? What's my reality with my body? What's my reality with sex? Because I had no idea. I mean, unless your parents and your upbringing was, like, wonderful and was looking to really empower you and see who you truly are as a being, which most people don't have, it's like you don't have an idea of what any of those things are. So for me, it's really been a journey of, like, well, what would that be for me? Like, what would I desire in this area? And not coming to an answer, but it's just the universe just kept showing me and continues to show me different parts and pieces of my reality that are really different than other people's reality, you know?
Yeah. And that makes me think of like, what energy, space, and consciousness can you and your body be to be, know, perceive, and receive the sexual reality that's true for you with total ease? And everything that doesn't allow it, would you destroy and uncreate it?
Yeah.
Right, wrong, good, bad, hot, puddle, nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And your sexual reality is not just copulation, it's receiving. It's what is your reality with receiving?
Yes.
You know, and that's just one of the areas here in this reality where where we're supposed to receive. But it's really your reality with receiving. And like you said, having kids around, I mean, I was married, and when I had young kids, I was with that, they're like, you know, they're always on you, like you said, and touching you, and like, especially
I have old kids and they're always on me, touching me.
Especially when they're babies. I mean, I was like nursing my kids, and they were always all on me. And that for me, like, fed that the wonderful, a lot of humanoids, you know, which we talk, like, if you're a person that loves touch, like the sensualness, the hedonistic nature of being alive, like your body being touched, having a good meal, you know, swimming at like the feel of water on your skin in the shower, whatever that is. And so that really fed that, because the partner I was with, my ex-husband, was not, we didn't have that. And I remember going to one of my very first access classes, and I think the topic of sex came up, and I just like sat in class and cried. And I remember raising my hand. I was like, what is this? Like, what? Because it wasn't like I had a cognitive thing of what I was sad about. And I remember Gary Douglas asking me, he was like, well, is that you, or is it your body crying? And I was like, it's my body. Like, you know, I hadn't had sex in maybe, I don't know, 6-7 months in a marriage, and like had decided that was okay, because I was getting all this yummy touching and wonderfulness from my kids, but I wasn't actually looking at what my body and what I would actually like as my sexual reality. And I was receiving all this wonderful, you know, enjoyment and joy and play of my kids, but I actually had a desire to, I would like a partner that I had that with too. So it's like really getting clear on what actually would, you know, fulfill you and make you happy and playful. And you have to be happy first yourself, and get really honest and vulnerable with you, and ask some questions of what is it, you know, that you desire, and that would be really just fun for you. It's not, doesn't have to be serious.
Yeah.
You know, just like fun.
Yeah. And like, for me, I've had to ask some of these questions. Like, it's not like I just ask, what's my sexual reality? And then it shows up a week later. You know, it's like, you know, you keep asking the question to eventually become the question. And you know, when I've asked certain questions like, what's my sexual reality? I get more and more and more of it, but it's like it's always changing, and it's a work in progress. And anytime that I've decided that I'm right or that I've got it, it usually crumbles and gets worse. So it's like, it's about constantly being in the question of like, what else? What else? What else would I like? What else? And never answering it. It's like the universe brings you the awareness and really shows it to you as the things that show up in your life, but it's never an answer to a question. And last night, oh my gosh, the creative edge of consciousness was so cool last night. And there's actually a clearing from there that I'd like to run with you guys. And there was a conversation on the creative edge about how things are never completed and how things never finish. And initially, when I can't remember if it was Gary or Dane, when Gary or Dane said it on the call, my world kind of went like, you mean nothing? Like, I'll never get to be right? Or like, I'll never get to like finish something or do something right? Like, my initial reaction was like, that sucks. And I was like, well, then they started talking more about it, and I started exploring more and more of like what they really meant. And it's such a different reality to constantly be in these questions of like, what is my sexual reality? What is my reality with money? What is my reality with my body? what's my reality with my mom, or like anything you could ask, and you'll get to see more and more of who you are as a being. But I had this disappointment, and I was like, okay, that's not going to work. That's not me. And as I started to ask more questions, I was like, wow, like, what if I was creating my life so that in 10 years, like, I was asking for things now so that in 10 years, this future was being created for me and coming together, so that in 10 years, it's like there's this future there waiting for me. And then in 100 years, and then in 1,000 years, and then in 10,000 years, it's like, what if by asking the questions today, you're creating a world that is ongoing? And I think Garrett used the line of like it's the never ending story of possibilities.
Yeah.
And it's such a different way of looking at it, especially for somebody like me personally, like where I want to be a perfectionist, and I want to know that I'm right, and I want to know I did a good job, and I want to know things have been completed and finished so I can like relax. But that's not the source of relaxation. It's not to get it right or to like figure out your reality and with your body or with sex. That's not going to work. It's like, it's a whole different reality. It's a whole different universe where you're never going to get it right. You're never going to get it wrong. And maybe Emily, you can give us your clearing too about all right, all wrong. And, but it's like, there's no destination. There's no endpoint. There's no, once I've created $1 million, there's no, once I have the right husband or boyfriend or girlfriend, like, it doesn't exist. It's this other reality that's a constant growing, moving, living thing that is sustainable and is creating a future. So just very different than this reality.
And I love that conversation. So everywhere any of us have decided you've arrived and stopped creating a future that is possible, would you destroy and uncreate it?
Yes.
Times a zillion, right, wrong, good, bad, POC, POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. I was just having a conversation with Gary about the same thing. And he's like, I see so many times when someone makes a choice, but that choice has an end to it. And you're creating an end without even knowing it. And I was like, oh my goodness, have I been doing
it sucks. I've done it so many times, and it sucks so bad. And one of the other things, I've been reading the Right Rich is For You book. We just finished a book club today, and we went through the whole thing and discussed, and it was great. And one of the lines that hit me the most was, as soon as you've decided you've got something right, you're energetically telling the entire universe that you don't need help anymore. You don't need contribution anymore. And when you tell the universe that you don't need contribution anymore, that's not fun.
No, and it's whatever your limit of what I realize is when I create a choice that has an end, it's because I've decided that there's a limit to my receiving. So all the limits you have put on your receiving, would you destroy and uncreate it? Times a godzillion, right?
Yes, I will. You fried me out. Yes.
I was looking at, like, I was just, before we started the call, I recently moved into a new house in the fall. It's been a little bit. But to me, it was such an upgrade from what I had been choosing. And I realized I had created this as an end point. And Gary's like, where are you creating that as an end? You've stopped asking questions of what else is possible. And I was like, holy shit. Because to me, that was so much to receive and to have. I was like, wow, it had already broken this, like, what I had considered what I was willing to receive and gone here. And I didn't even know I was creating an end with, like, no, I'm good. This was great. I'm good. And anytime you're like, I'm good and I've arrived, or this is, like you're saying, I'm right, which is basically the underpinning of that. You
right.
stop the universe from contributing and receiving.
Dear God.
Everything that is times a godzillion. Just trying to create.
Yes.
Right, wrong, good, bad, POC, POD, all nine boys and beyonds.
I will destroy and uncreate that. That is so cool. That is such a cool conversation. I mean, we could look at all different areas of our life where we have decided where our receiving stops and created an endpoint. That is so cool. Oh, Alan has a question. Mr. Allen, please.
I was wondering, Emily, so when you decided that house you moved into was your endpoint, and then you became aware of it, what did you just do? Like you potted it and then asked like, how does it get better? Or what are, because I noticed I've done that with the place I just moved into, which is wonderful, but I did create it as an endpoint. So how can I keep creating and go farther?
That's a great question. Because the same as, and I don't know if you have this, but for me, I was like, if I felt like I wasn't being grateful for it, if I didn't see it as so amazing. I was like, wow, this is so amazing. I'm so grateful. So, and I didn't even realize that that's not actually, I mean, it is gratitude, but it's actually stopping things, because you're like, oh, this is so there's the, I'm grateful. And then it is that simple of, wow, what else is possible I've never considered? So like in this example, it's like, okay, yes, it's wonderful. And like constant creation of future is looking not just start and stop a lot of us have with create, and then you reach I don't know if you want to say a goal, but like you're like, oh cool, I've got that, like this new place, this new apartment, that's awesome. And we go in this like almost little fits and starts of creation and then stop, versus when you're looking at a totally different future that's really beyond control, because it's more like, wow, okay, what else is possible I've never considered? I mean, that seems simple, but it really is that question. It's an energetic way of looking at, wow, okay, now I have this new apartment, or I have this house and it's wonderful. And what else could I add to my life? What else, because I had gone to, okay, I'm here, I'll probably be here till my kids, I literally was like, oh, I'll be here till my kids graduate from high school. And I was like, holy shit, is that a limitation? Because I just, yeah.
It's so interesting though, because like these two things are different things, but in this reality, they're the same. Being grateful for something and asking for more. It's like that's two different things, but we go like this, like as though there's a lack of gratitude if we ask for more.
Yeah.
So everything that is, everywhere we've causally inculcated those, and causal inculcation is when you put two things in a blender that are different things and make them into one thing. Like for example, love and marriage, or something like that, or sexy body and having lots of sex, or things like that. So everywhere you've causally inculcated gratitude for something, and then that's the end point, will you destroy and uncreate that all now times a godzillion?
Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And a lot of it too, like what I've been asking is too, what future am I aware of that I haven't acknowledged? So what futures are you all aware of that you haven't acknowledged? And everything that is times a godzillion, would you destroy and uncreate it?
Yeah.
Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And what future are you already creating that you haven't acknowledged? And everything that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Because I having that conversation with Gary, he's like, well, I mean, you could add a top story to your house and make it totally different and add things on and then sell it. And who knows, in a few years, like maybe you want to move to Atlanta because it's got a better airport, and things by then could be different with your ex. And I was like, whoa, I had shut out so much from my world. But he was like, that's the chaos of creation. Like when you keep going, yes, this is wonderful, I'm grateful. And what else is possible? So you're not creating an end, you're grateful, but then you're still open to receiving more. Because what I realized I was doing was being grateful and being like, I'm good. Like, and this is my whole, every one of us has a, whatever that is for you, that limit where you're like, whoo, I've kind of arrived, or this is so great. And that you don't think whether it's, I realized for me, it was like, oh, I don't deserve more, or who would I be to ask for more, or to keep, I'm like, wow, if you just keep asking what future is possible I've never considered, and be grateful, but allow that constant, like Julie was talking about, there's no endpoint. Allow it to keep the universe to contribute, to you to keep asking questions. Then it can keep moving forward rather than, oh, this is great, I'm good.
Thank you. Because when I moved last in the fall, I moved again, and like it's the same thing. Like the month after I move, it like everything slows down, and I didn't like, this is making so much sense because it's like this like flurry of awesome creation, awesomeness. Like come up with the money and the down, like everything, and then now it's like, okay.
Yep, totally.
Yeah.
Oh, Em's kids are home from school. She's giving them kisses.
Okay.
So everywhere you've made yourself Mr. Endpoint, and everywhere you ladies have made yourself Mrs. Endpoint, will you destroy and uncreate it all times a godzillion? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, pod, poc, shorts, boys and beyonds. The only endpoint you want to have is the tip of your penis. And everything that doesn't allow that times a godzillion, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, pod, poc, shorts, boys and beyonds. And and I'm reading I'm reading right now this book,
Oh,
of Recluse by Ellie Modesta Jr. Because I bought it about 2 years ago when the whole order and chaos conversation came out, and Gary was recommending it. And then I finished watching Downton Abbey, which was such a huge contribution to my life and changed my whole world and the way that I'm functioning. And so then I asked Gary, what else do I need to read or listen to or watch next? And he's like, The Magic of Recluse. And I was like, I stopped on page 52 years ago. And he said, you can't, he's like, how are you going to beat the magic if you're not even willing to read about the magic? And I was like, blast you. So now I'm reading it like really fast. Motivated humanoid. And so this, it's The Magic of Recluse. There's 21 novels in the series. Talk about no endpoint.
seriously.
And I can't tell you what happens or everything that I got from it because I'm not finished, but it's a really great recommendation, and it's already starting to open doors in my world about what chaos is. And in Access, these amazing tools come in, and then we use them, and then 2 weeks later, the next amazing tool that's even greater comes in, and then we forget about the tool from 2 weeks ago, which doesn't make the tool from 2 weeks ago any less valuable. So the order and chaos conversation is an amazing conversation, and if you want to have a deeper dive, this is your place. This is a really cool book, and there's a lot of adventure and possibility in chaos. So I want to just tell everybody about chaos. The chaos.
And I'm going to run that all. So when we're talking about this, like no endpoint, right? And what I've realized, when you reach an endpoint, we've been talking, it's kind of where you figured you've got it right, or where you've received enough, or you're good. So this clearing, I no joke, have been running this. This came up in January, I think, during the FARS facilitator class.
Yep.
I have been running it almost every night when I'm sleeping since then. And it is still one of the most potent clearings I have run. What jails, which is judgments, agendas, inventions, and lies, are you using to create the dominance of E equals MC squared? E is evil, equals the mediocrity times corruption squared. So like that mediocrity, I'm good, I'm normal, so what jails are using to create the dominance of E equals MC squared as always having to be all right or all wrong as the only choice in life and living that keeps you from having and creating a totally different reality with no conclusions than anyone else can have. Everything that is times a godzillion, would you destroy and uncreate it?
Two thumbs up. Yes.
Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And that's so much what we're talking about. Your sexual reality is your receiving reality. Like, yes, that can involve copulation, but it's so much more. And anywhere you decide like, oh, this is great, or I've arrived, or and that is usually not even a conscious thought. Sometimes it is, but what I've noticed is sometimes it just slips in there where you're like,
that's happened for me when I've destroyed my life over it.
Exactly. But it stems from that, like, oh, I'm right, I'm good, I've got it, basically. And I didn't realize what a total crux point of creating my life I had been doing from all right, or if I'm not that, I'm all wrong. And so everywhere you've created wrongness as the like motivation to keep creating, would you destroy and create all that? Mm-hmm. Times a godzillion. Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And when I look at that, that's fit and starts of like start and stop of creation. Like, where is that where you're creating, you're doing it from, I'm wrong, I'm trying to get something right, I'm going for something. And then when you arrive, you stop because you're like, all right, I've figured this bit out. So
now they will make a statue of me in this position, and the statue will live for 20,000 more years.
So everything that is times like Godzilla, destroy it and create it.
Yes.
Right, wrong, good, bad, POC, POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds.
Did you know that the way that the horses are positioned in those old statues represent like how the soldier died? Like if they have their if their horse, you know how you see the statues where the horse has like its hooves up in the air? That means that they died in battle. Different horse positions mean different things about the person in the statue.
I had no idea.
I know. What the hell is that? Yeah. And then yesterday, I have to thank Andy Hoig from Omaha, Nebraska, because she asked a wonderful question on the Creative Edge yesterday about her business, and it brought up this awesome clearing, which I rapidly jotted down. So I could give it all to you and you could change your life with it. So how many jails are you using to create the dominance of E = MC squared as always living in the conflictual universe of desiring and then destroying, creating and then obliterating, choosing and then avoiding, so that you can have the shittiest life possible for all eternity? Yes.
Everything that is.
Creative Edge of Consciousness, folks. This is a commercial for it. Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, POD and POC, shorts, boys, and beyonds. I'll run it again.
Yeah, please.
How many jails are you using to create the dominance of E = MC squared as always living in the conflictual universe of desiring and destroying, creating and obliterating, choosing and avoiding, so that you can have the shittiest life possible for all eternity? And everything that is, times a godzillion, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, POD, POC, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And that was coupled with this next clearing. What energy, space, and consciousness and choice, Gary and Dane have added choice onto what energy, space, and consciousness can I be? It's now what energy, space, and consciousness and choice can I be to be the greatest fuck up on planet Earth with total ease for all eternity? And everything that doesn't allow that, times a godzillion, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, POD and POC, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Here,
Alan's asking you to paste that.
There you go, Alan. There you go, everyone. How many jails are you using? And that's nice because normally I make people rewatch the replay to get their clearing so they can listen to the call again. But for today, I won't do that. How many jails are you using to create the dominance of E = MC squared as always living in the conflictual universe of desiring and destroying, creating and obliterating? I mean, how much obliterating do we do? Choosing and avoiding, so you can have the shittiest life possible for all eternity. And everything that is, times a godzillion, can we destroy and uncreate it all?
Right, wrong, good, bad, POC, POD, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds.
And then I have another one. I have a really good one. Hold on. Just wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. You could go ahead, Emily. You don't.
Okay, I would say, and you guys feel free to ask questions. I would love to know if you guys have questions about anything too.
And then the other question for when you're being pathetic or you're making other people greater than you, what energy, space, and consciousness can you be to make you the most pathetic underdog on planet Earth with total ease? And everything that is, times a godzillion, will you destroy and create it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, all night, POD and POC, shorts, boys, and beyonds. There, you guys have enough material for a while.
Oh, goodness.
If you throw up, you're welcome. Awesome. Cool.
Cool. And I was gonna, with the conversation we're having about, you know, continually asking for more and not creating choices or making choices that have an end point, which to look at that, you really have to be vulnerable with yourself to look at, like, you know, where am I making a choice that's creating
Yes,
an endpoint?
You do.
You do. You really do. And what I realized is, you know, we were having a conversation. I can't remember what class it was in, or Zoom, or who knows. But Dane was talking about statesmen and leaders and people that are actually looking to create a future, you know, 500 years out, 10,000 years out, which when I first heard that conversation, I was like, I don't even know what that looks like to make a choice 10,000 years into the future.
Yeah.
But you know, when we talk about heavy and light and making a choice, and so many people are like, I don't get it. I don't feel the difference between heavy or light, or following the energy. But I finally get when you're looking at choices and you're looking, okay, if I choose this, what would the future be like? And even go say 500 years, which to me was like, that's crazy. I'm not physically going to be in this body, at least in 500 years. Or, you know, what would it take? But
I will be.
that's a conclusion.
I think you will be too.
Yeah.
And we'll be looking this good.
Yeah, but even something like moving into, like, without, like, that apartment, or buying a house, or whatever that is, actually, if you look at not just what it creates for you, but what is that creating for the future, for the earth 500 years from now? Like, what are you changing just by being, we'll use like the example of a house, like being on that property, the people you're interacting with, your children, if they have children, like any of that. And that's when something feels light and it makes no logical sense why you're choosing it. That's when you're actually tapping into the energy of the future, and there's not an endpoint. That's when you know you're truly following. And so that's why that's one of the great questions is, what will my life be like in 5 years if I choose this? And you can just go 5. And what will it be like if I don't? Because what it's doing is it's getting you out of that linearity of an endpoint of, oh, if I choose this, then I've decided this, and this will happen, this, and this is right. That's my endpoint. And when you ask for the years beyond, and that's why it's so even crazier to go 500 years, because that's the energy of what actually your choices create. It's not just how most people function of, you know, this month's bills and this month's responsibilities and what that is. It takes you so far beyond that.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's just, there's nothing to compare it to in this reality, because it's just a different reality. There's nothing that exists here that's like this. It's a totally different reality.
Yeah.
It's a totally different ball game, totally different set of rules. And, you know, what if your life, well, it's not even a life, it's beyond a life, it's a living. What if your living was something where you only played by the rules of your own game, and there was no other force or creature or God or whatever it is that was for person that was greater than you? You know, it's like, what if your life was your game and you got to set the rules, you got to set the playing field, you were the goalie, the referee, the scorekeeper, the forward player, you know, the mid player, the fastest runner. What if everything in your life was your game and you got to change everything to create what you desired? And it's like, are you willing to have that much power? Are you willing to have that much potency? Do you trust yourself with the power that you have? Or do you not trust yourself? Do you think somebody else is better off with the power? And everywhere you haven't trusted yourself with your own potency, will you destroy and uncreate that times a godzillion? Right and wrong, good and bad, all 9 pod, poc, shorts, boys, and beyonds.
Oh, can I run a potency clearing?
Please. And we were going to talk about sex. Well, you guys. Beyond that.
This is from the 7-day. And you guys, often we talk about in Access, you know, and you probably heard this, when your back hurts, especially low back, it's often like the potency or power you're hiding behind you. Doesn't have to show up as that back pain, but if you're aware that, you know, you're all infinite beings, there's a lot more potency and power available. So this is one of my favorite ones I've been running over the last couple weeks. What have you been hiding and holding behind you so dynamically that if you didn't, would make you aware of a level of power, potency, presence, capacities, and wizardly abilities as you that you're not sure you could handle, though you know you are it, you just refuse to choose it so you can be the controlling, pathetic motherfucker you've decided you must be to never have 2 feet in a reality of possibilities. Everything that is times a godzillion, destroy it, uncreate it.
Yes.
Right, wrong, good, bad, pot all 9 shorts, boys and beyond.
Thank
It's
you
a
for that
version
one.
of that lyric.
Thank you for that one.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well,
That's
it's,
awesome.
Christina, in the chat, you said, like, I've never asked what's my sexuality. What a fun question is that? And Julia, when you're talking about, like, what if there were no rules and you were creating it? That's why I love that question. And I love asking, what creation of fill in the blank. So what creation of copulation could I have that no one else has? What creation of your body could you have that no one else has? What creation of your sexual reality could you have that no one else has? What creation of relationship could you have that no one else has? I love Christina's face. Because that for me, that question, I love it because it is so unique to you. Like, and it's not a figure it out, it's ask it and allow the universe to contribute and keep taking actions and asking questions and making choices from a place of creating a future, from not trying to figure it out, not trying to have an end point, but it's staying in that constant question of that.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Emily. Like, my hair is like back, Hey, I know Julia says that she doesn't normally put the long clearings in there, but you had that beautiful all right, all wrong one. Could you also put that in the email or the chat?
Yes, I think I put the all right one right as Julia was putting.
I don't know. I think we should leave something so that everybody has to go back and listen and get the tools again.
I already checked. It was at 12:30. I know exactly where so I'm on top of it, but
always one step ahead of me, Mika. What the hell?
I have to wait an hour for you to upload the
Oh,
thing.
look, I put it in here. That one I gave you.
Magnitude, right? Okay.
Oh, jeez.
Bless you. Thank you. You guys rock.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll mute myself.
Oh, that's awesome. One of the things too, like we're talking about creating our own reality and our own possibilities. Not our own. It's not even your own. It's like of the universe, but it is you. And right now we're like, oh, I'm going to be my mom instead. I'm going to be my dad instead, rather than like me and the energy of the universe contributing to me and being in commune with that and being all of me all the time. But one of the things I always thought, before doing Access, that there was something wrong with my own preferences. Like, I like these different energies. Like, I like the energies of like hot air balloons and like Coldplay and like nautical, like sailors and yachts. Not sailors necessarily, like yachts and oceans. And I like there's like these energies, and like I've had so many like worlds and realities that are like over here, and they're these like huge worlds and realities. I'm like, okay, I perceive it, I like have a glimpse of it, it's like filling my body right now, but in 1 minute it will be gone. And like there's so many things that have been so beautiful and so magical and so amazing, and I thought that because nobody else saw it, that there was either something wrong with it or it was unactualizable. And like those are the beginning points of your reality. So you can't crush those or think that because nobody else sees it or wants it, it's of no value. So what are your preferences, and what are the realities that you're aware of that you're not willing to, geez, that was loud, that you're not willing to value because no one else does? And everything that is times a godzillion will you destroy and uncreate it all.
Right, wrong, good, bad, pot all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds.
Yeah. Like, because everybody where I grew up was like, I want to have a dirt bike. And I was like, don't want to have a dirt bike. Like, don't understand dirt bikes. Like, that's not part of my reality. I was like, there's something wrong with me that, like, I don't want dirt bikes. I like these other, like, energies over here. But it's like, you have other realities that if you don't create that, if you don't ask about that, it's not going to happen. Nobody else is going to do it. Only you're aware of it.
And I love that. One of the quotes from Dr. Dane is, if you don't wake up and create your reality, this reality creates it for you. And that is so true, especially when you look at, if we'll, go back to sex and receiving, especially there, because like the dirt bike, I mean, I remember watching movies where they'd have like, sex scenes or women in their bodies. And I was like, I don't get it. Like, to me, like, like that doesn't seem like a turn on. It doesn't seem like they like their bodies but if that's all you're given in this reality, it's like, how much do we go, well, they're, I don't get it. That's like the dirt bike that you're like, I don't think that seems fun for me, so that's where really asking questions contributes to you creating something, right? And it's that thing of, when people think, it's like whatever someone has here is this reality, for you, if that doesn't work for you, one, you have to realize, like, is that even mine? And you're not wrong for desiring something else, and then asking for it. And if it's truly something beyond this reality and something that works for you, it's usually you're not even going to see it anywhere else or anyone else having it.
No, nobody anywhere near me had any of these things going on at all. And yeah. Alan says, oh my God, totally. My dad saw an orange bathing suit and was like, what a strange color for a bathing suit. Oh my God. What are my actual preferences and realities and energies? That's awesome, Alan. Alan like walking by the Zoom screen in his orange bathing suit. But it's like, yeah, it's a different reality. And some of the things that I thought were my preferences, because I wasn't really, like, they weren't really an open energy in my world or with anybody around me. And then it's like, once I started doing access and I started being able to choose that, I would choose a lot of them and I didn't want them either. But like, I had to try them out. So you're going to have to try on a lot of bathing suits. You might try on lime green and you're like, and then you try on orange and your dad's like, I don't like orange bathing suits. That's weird. And you're like, I look really good in this orange bathing suit. And if there's a car that runs by, they're going to see me and I'm going to be safe because everybody can see me in my orange bathing suit. So it's like, you got to try on a lot of shit before you get the right shit. But there is no right shit. There's only a future of possibilities. So there you go. That's it.
Yeah, we were just walking past like a storefront and there was like bathing suits for women that were like red and orange. That and my dad just had like the strangest reaction to it. And I was so surprised. I'm like, what? I'm like, it's just orange. I'm like, how is that so strange? I'm like, it's just a color. Anyway, so I was like, when you're talking about like, what's my reality and like, what do you actually desire? Like, do you want the dirt bike? Like, I was the same way. Like, I don't want a lot of what Alberta and Calgary has to offer. And that doesn't mean I'm wrong. But then I also have to like start asking what I do desire, what I do want, or else I'm just going to be, fucking flying around like I have been.
Yeah, you'll be flung around for everybody else's reality.
Yeah, and thinking orange bathing suits are like totally from another planet and ridiculous.
Yeah, so. And that's why I swear the question of how different are you willing to be, I feel like everything comes back to that. Because it's like, if the orange and red bathing suit, whatever works for you. Like, I just had my mom in town again, and this is my bed, like the little headboard bed. And she's been here twice now, and she's proceeded to tell me every time, I like your house, but there's just one thing that's really over the top, and it's your bed. And I was like, wow, that's so funny. This is like my favorite thing in the house. But it's like that thing to her that is just, it's being willing to have what you enjoy and being willing to be like, I'm cool with that. And not from resistance but just like, this works for me and this is my reality, and being willing to be as different as you are. And it seems like a simple question, but it's the same thing as you get so far and then you start getting pushed. Like, it's like, oh, I'm willing to be this different and this different and this different. And everyone has that thing. And then all of a sudden, when you start being like, ooh, that judgment hurts a little bit, it's like, that's when you realize, okay, what else could I receive? Because really, judgments and other people's points of view about what their reality they would like or what you deserve or what you should have, it's just their point of view. And so when you start to get that ping, it's that I look at as awesome. Okay, I've reached a new place where I'm pushing what I've been comfortable with receiving and then asking for more. So what energy, space, and consciousness can you and your body be to be the simultaneity of gifting and receiving you truly be with total ease? And everything that doesn't allow that, would you destroy and uncreate it?
Yes.
Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds.
I was taking a singing lesson, and my teacher told me, like, I was trying to get the higher notes, and I was singing louder, and I was in my apartment, right? And so when I got to be like louder and higher, I started being more self-conscious about my voice, but also the volume. And then my teacher was like, she pointed out like the exact note, and she was like, that's really cool, because she's like, that's where you stop being and you start thinking. And it's like, when you start thinking about other people's, like, what are my neighbors going to think of me if they hear me singing, or like whatever, but it's like the same as what you're talking about. It's like, there's that level that you get to, and it's like, you've just stopped being you and started like thinking about what everyone else is going to think about you. That's more important. And like, I don't know.
What a good singing teacher you have.
I know, it's wonderful.
That is like thank you for, that's like one of the best analogies I've ever.
I know. It was fucking amazing. Yeah.
And we're all willing to go to a certain point where we're like, I'm being. And then all of a sudden you start thinking about all the judgments and everything else. And that changes.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing of keeping asking questions, because then you can it's not a wrongness to get to that point, right? It's like, oh, cool. That's where I'm stopping being and thinking.
It's actually fucking awesome. Yeah. To get to that, because then you become aware of it and you're like, okay, cool. And then next time, like, you just increase your awareness and be like, hey, well, what would it take for me to have more ease to go beyond that, or whatever. But then and you can continue. So yeah, I thought that was really cool.
Pretty cool. Does your singing teacher live in Colorado?
She does, yeah.
Oh, indeed. Desiree Dodson, or Desiree Dumont, who has access, and she's a wonderful opera singer. So that's awesome, Alan. Tell her we all say thank you for her wonderful analogy.
Yes.
I will.
Very cool.
Do you guys have any questions?
Do you have any brain cells?
kind of
not needed. Thank you, guys. This was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know if I
don't have anything else to say.
Oh, well, we would like to invite you to the reason we had this Zoom, well, one of the reasons, Julie and I always love having talks about this. And Christine, I know we were supposed to have a talk about receiving. I know, and we didn't connect, which is so funny. But Julie and I are doing a one-day class, The Sex You Know Is Possible, in Atlanta, but we're live streaming it too. And it's just one day. So we'll live stream it like this through Zoom and then have people in the room in Atlanta too. And it's on June 15th, right?
Yes, it's on June. That's 1 month from today, exactly.
And you guys are all invited. We did one of those one-day classes in Hungary, and it was awesome. I mean, I kind of laughed because I told Gary and Jane that we were, we talked to them about doing a one-day class on sex, and they're like, "You're crazy!" What? And see how it goes. And it was awesome. I see Doris is on the Zoom. She was there. It's amazing, actually, what we got to in that day. It didn't feel like we were clearing through a bunch of crap first. It's like the whole day was creation, and I have no idea what this next one will be like, but I'm excited. So, and you can tell, like, even though it's called The Sex You Know Is Possible, it's like sex, receiving, your body, how you're living, the choices you're making, it's all tied together. So really it's one of those things where anything comes up. Yeah.
I posted the link for you guys.
That question?
I posted the link in the chat for you guys to have more information. So it's just in the chat there if you want to see it. Christina.
So can I say the thing that I was aware of that time when I called you?
Yes.
So I just, look at what is receiving to me and all those things. And I often will look for someone who has an energy that I would like to duplicate or to acknowledge that I already be it, as we talk about access. I couldn't find one person that I felt like had the receiving I was interested in duplicating. And I duplicate like Gary and Dane. I duplicate a lot of people for a lot of things, and it just goes like boom, and you just choose it. And I was not aware of anyone that had the receiving I was interested in. And I was like, wow, like that I knew there was so much more possible. When I kind of like went on the planet, like everyone, like people I don't know, like the Dalai Lama, like all the people I know. And I was like, I thought, who knows something about this? And Emily was the person that popped in my head. And I know she's super busy like I am too. And I was like, I want to have a conversation about receiving because I think we know something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I know that you guys sound like you're already done, but I just wanted to say it in case someone else had something else for that. So, well,
Yeah.
well,
No, yeah, say it.
what I was going to say was in Julia's Zoom energy poll that she had free like 2 years ago that I gave to like everybody. She talks about the difference between a wild swan and the wild swimming on a pond, the energy of like freedom and beauty and movement that it was, although she didn't say those words, and the dog that was like with its owner. And she didn't say the word neurotic, but it's that thing where it's constantly looking for like approval and it's in its head, you know, versus the animals that were free in the wild. Like, or a whale breaching, like, you know, the things that are free and they don't have that self-consciousness that human beings tend to. And I was just so aware of that the freedom seemed to come from being out of their head, obviously. So,
Yeah.
but the freedom to receive and be at one with everything, you know, because
Yeah. Well, what I was talking about was, I actually did like the meditation walk that Gary talks about. There's a YouTube video about the meditation walk. And I did it once in Stanley Park in Vancouver. And I noticed the difference between it's basically where you walk really slowly and you get really present. And as I was going out to do it, everything in my head was trying to stop me. I was like, I gotta go pee. And I'm like, I'm thirsty and I gotta go back to the apartment for this and this. And everything in my head was trying to stop me from doing it. And I was like, fuck it all. I'm going to go thirsty. If I have to pee my pants, that's fine. I went and I did it. And as soon as I started, all of that went away. And I started to have a different level of awareness, which is what the walk is designed for. And one of the things, of the thousands of things that I noticed, was that there were a lot of animals around in the park, and a lot of them were wild, and then there were domesticated dogs. And I noticed the lines and the patterns in the animals, and how some of the people in my, like some of the more amazing people in my life had the same energies and lines as the different animals, and how the wild animals had these realities and the sense of no judgment. And then the most difficult and contractive things that I noticed on the walk were the people. And there was this one girl who was wearing a particular sweater, and the sweater was totally repulsive to my world. It was like the energy that she was being, or that was projected on the sweater, or just those energies, it was like completely repulsive. And then from, you know, and then there was dogs and stuff, and I noticed the difference between the dogs that were domesticated and the wild animals and the ducks and the swans and just all the different realities. But it's like, that's the level of awareness. That's the beginning of the level of awareness that Access Consciousness is inviting us to. And there's so many ways to have that. I mean, I invite everybody to do the meditation walk. It's such a cool, it's a tool. It's a tool of Access Consciousness. It's such a cool tool. But it's just amazing to see how the trees and the life and the animals have so much to contribute to us, but we're never listening because we're always in our heads, or we're always thinking about how we should be or what's right or what's wrong, rather than listening. And we're really bad listeners. If we're not talking with our mouths, we're talking with our heads. And it's like, when you're willing to have that awareness, you can interact with things differently, and life becomes kinder and softer. And lately I've been really thinking about the bar: kindness, gratitude, peace, and calm, and what that bar is really for. Because that bar is I was always like, run my money and creativity bar, and now I'm like that kindness, gratitude, peace, and calm. It's like, if you don't have this reality as your boss, and you don't have this reality as something greater than you, and you have this level of peace that is available to you as a being, and that's what you're looking for, and that's what you are and what is possible, it's a different reality, because you're not dictated by the same things. You're dictated by you. You're dictated by the greatness and the kindness that you are as a being, rather than dictated by paying the bills at the end of the month, So yeah, it's like there's so much that we can have as awareness, that when we're talking out of our heads and we're constantly trying to make ourselves right or wrong, you don't get it. You miss it.
Yeah. And it's like what Alan said earlier, it's like that space you're talking about, Julia, is it's when you stop thinking that you receive a totally, it's like you're being, because to receive, you need to be. And we started talking about like be-ceiving, like at the 7-day, because I was like, oh, that's really, it's like be-ceiving. It's not just receiving. Like you have to be, we've talked about these like being, knowing, perceiving, and receiving, and those so go together. So when you get out of your head and you're still willing to just be and not think about anything, like that's that beautiful place of receiving. So what energy, space, and consciousness can you and your body be to receive everything you've been unwilling to receive before now with total ease? And everything that doesn't allow that, would you destroy and uncreate it?
Yes.
Right, wrong, good, bad, POC, POD, online, shorts, boys, and beyonds.
I realized with you guys talking that I could just duplicate the animals and the planet. I was like, somehow I kept trying to duplicate a person.
You're like,
And
who's the person?
I was like, all the people, like, they'll be receiving in this area, but not this one, but not that one. And I was like, I have a cat that just receives. I could just, so thank you for that, because that was a giant awareness for me too, that I could just duplicate wild animals.
Yeah.
Get it in my head.
And it's cool, but what I get you're aware of too is I like looking at people that will receive a lot, and then they make a choice, like they'll reach a point and then go, okay, now I'm going to choose to receive more. Because that's something animals and plants just go, I just receive. And so I like also looking at people who, because it is for us, it hasn't been that easy in this reality. So I always look at people too. I'm like, oh, whatever they're having, when like Simone is someone that I've looked at who asks for more. And then she's like, oh my God, I realized I got to a place where what we've talked about, like I've stopped asking. Now I'm going to demand more and ask for more. I remember when she was talking about her 10% account, and she was saying something about it being like, ages ago, like 50 or 100,000. I was like, oh, I'm going to have that. Like I haven't even asked for, like those. And so I've also been asked to see people that will keep asking for more receiving, and that constant, like, cool, I'll have more.
Well, yesterday, my staff was making a poster for my foundation class. It was supposed to be like 20 by 19. And somehow it's like 4 feet by 3 feet of my face in my office, right? And every time I look at it, I go, and it's a photograph from Friday, and my patients go, God, you look great in that, doc. And I've noticed I receive, probably less than 1% of that. Or like my back pain is gone, and I was like, wow, I'll probably be way more psychic even when I receive that.
Yeah.
Like with whatever percentage, I was like, wait, I could actually be way more intuitive. Wow. I would choose it just for that. But when you get just the places where you won't receive, it's just so funny. I'm going to just be a cat now. They're fine receiving. But thanks for the conversation, you brilliant, kind beings.
Oh my gosh. Thank you guys.
This is, who knew?
Awesome.
How does it get better? How can we receive more?
Cool. Thank you guys. And we will send a replay to you too. So that'll be
Yes. A replay will be coming out shortly, within 24 hours. Hopefully, if I can get to it right away. And what energy, space, and consciousness can you be to be the simultaneity of gifting and receiving that you truly be? Right, wrong, good, bad, all 9, POD, POC, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Awesome. Well, how does it get better? Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.